Okay, so I want to welcome you all to today's live discussion. And today we'll be tackling the topic on financial independence and budgeting. It's a topic where today we are blessed to have two experienced guys in the financial industry. We have Fisayo Olubi, who is an accountant with over 20 years experience, and he's worked with global companies, and I'll get him to say a little bit more about the work he's been doing. Also will be joining us is John Micah. He's also into finance. He used to be in retail banking, and he's a senior analyst with one of the American banks. He'll be joining us to share with us our route towards financial independence, budgeting, where it relates to personal finance. So John will join us in about 15, 20 minutes because he's working on American time and will be joining us no later than 8:30. But we'll kick off with Fisayo. Today's session is a question and answer. It's a discussion. So Fisayo would give us some insights, share some of his knowledge, but then he's happy to answer any question from what he would have said or any questions we may have. So welcome, Fisayo, and thank you for agreeing to share this time with us. And we'll kick off, if you could just briefly let the audience know what you do. I know I've said you're an accountant, what your job entails, so that they get to know a little bit about you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. And well, depending on where you are watching, it could be good morning or good afternoon. All right. Pleased to be in the house, to be sharing my knowledge with the people of God. So I believe many people listening are believers, and well, it doesn't matter. But the point is, the plan of God for us to prosper. You know, that's one thing. And then it's a great thing for us to be able to share our experience. So I'm pleased to be invited. God bless you. So a little about myself. I'm a qualified accountant, and I qualified in Nigeria, and then I've been here for going to 20 years. Excuse me, a child is. So as a qualified accountant, so basically my training, it means that I learned a lot about money and managing money. So, but basically traditional accounting, the teaching or the training is more about managing money, less of making money. But I quickly realized that, and then I decided I'm not going to be the one managing the money. I want to be the one making the money. So okay. I like that. So I've seen both sides. So in terms of what I do, and so
Fisayo, just a second. Are you able to adjust your mic? It seems to be crackling a bit. Try again.
Okay. What about now? Hello.
Marginally improved, but you carry on.
Okay, maybe I could just use the computer mic. Maybe.
Yeah.
I thought this would be better. That's why I'm using. Let me try the computer mic. Hello, what about now?
Yeah, that's a lot better. Thank you very much.
Change my volume, increase my volume. Apologies for all this. Okay, is it very good now?
Yes, carry on. You were talking about not managing the money, but trying to make the money, right?
Oh yes. So I mean, with experience, generally as an accountant, because I at the moment, so what I do is more of management consulting. So on the IT side of accounting, basically. But practicing as an accountant, managing money, seeing a lot of big figures, and then you are just there, preparing accounts, and then you just wonder, well, if somebody can make this money, why not? We can turn the table around. I could be the one making the money, and somebody else doing the books.
Right.
So that has fueled my my interest also in in being a businessman, my entrepreneurship spirit, came, that's how I pick it, and I started, putting my hands, in business. So I still do what we could call, day job kind of, because although for the last 15 years, I'm a freelancer,
Okay.
contractor, consulting kind of, but then it's still more like, you're still like dependent on having to work, for you to earn your fee. But to me, that is fine because that is part of what I'm going to talk about tonight. So some people, when they talk about financial freedom, so the first idea is that, right, you're not going to do anything. You're going to go on the beach, all day, or be flying around the world, holiday, and so it's more than that, and as believer as well. So I see work as a calling as well. For many of us here, so we understand what we do, the way it impacts life. We know that it's a calling. So I will not be like advocating, completely for people to, sit back, and be traveling over the world. So we have to recognize what is the.
So you are talking about what people thinking financial freedom or financial independence being,
Yes.
I can travel around, I have enough money, I don't need to work, right?
Yeah,
so,
no, I just want to clarify that. Yeah. Okay, sorry, if you could finish.
Yeah, before you clarify that, I want to ask the participants for them to just tell us what they understand by financial independence or financial freedom. So I'm going to pick names off the screen. So Odelia, if you can kindly unmute yourself. Today, I'm not going to ask for lunches. I will just call names. Odelia, if you can kindly mute and tell us what you understand by financial independence or financial freedom. Just one line.
1 second. Give me 5 minutes. I'll join you, please.
Okay. How about Mr. Benning?
Okay.
You're muted. Thank you.
I guess being financially independent means that you have the resources to do what you are able to, what you want to do. So financially, you don't have your ability to do whatever you want to do does not depend necessarily maybe upon just maybe one source of income that is coming in from, say, your regular job, but maybe you have multiple sources of income so that you are free to do whatever you want to do. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay. Thank you. And we'll take a couple more. I see an Alexandra. Alexandra, can you kindly mute yourself and just share what you understand by financial freedom or financial independence? Alexandra, you're muted. If not, Annalisa, could you tell us what you understand by financial independence or freedom before we get Fisaya to help us navigate this topic today? Annalisa, can you hear us? If not, okay, Fisayo, so carry on. So what does it really mean if you're saying it's not enough money to travel around, be on the beach? What does financial freedom?
Okay, well, I was just getting to, I didn't know you're going to break it down, one by one. Okay, so basically, I think the term financial freedom, that is, what is, more common. As the word freedom means, it means you are free, free as in free from debt, free from debt. You don't have to work. You have enough investment or enough resources that is generating income for you that is able to pay your bills. You are not in debt. So, and that is what it means, freedom. You are free. And
it is slightly different, and that is why I was trying to explain that. Some people's idea is that, I mean, when you go on the internet, a lot of this training will teach you how to be free for the financial freedom in 6 months, 3 months, and all those stuff like that. You will travel all over the world, kind of things like that. That is what it means. So you don't have to work. Basically, you have enough passive income. You don't have to work. You don't necessarily even have to run a business. You are putting some investment, or you have done one. Basically, people say you work once and you earn, a lifetime, more or less. So that is what.
So you use the term passive income. Could you briefly define that or explain passive income versus normal income?
All right. So passive income is income from investments or royalty, or anything whereby your time or resources is not required. And
so you're not trading. You're not trading your time for money.
You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. So basically, you can go on the beach if you want to. At the end of, I don't know how often, it depends on the source of income, whether it's on daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, or annual basis. You have income coming in for you to pay all your bills. You are free, and basically you are also free of debt, because if you are owing, anything could happen that could throw you off balance. It means you are stable, you are financially stable, you don't have to work. And that is why it is slightly different from financial independence.
Okay, so if we move on, what are some of the things, or what are some of the things we need to really do to become either financially free or financially independent?
All right, so before I answer that, so I will just shed light on the financial independence. So okay. As you can deduce, so when we talk about financial freedom, so the financial independence means that you are earning money on your own terms, So basically, it's not a day job, You are not dependent on anybody. You are not dependent on a boss or a job, Yeah. You are earning money, but you are independent. You dictate where you want to work, how you want to work. You are not governed by anybody's rule, So you are independent. You are in the driving seat. You have everything in your own hands, and the independence may also come from passive income. But the difference is that for financial independence, you might have some debts, but it is what we call controlled debts. Like you will understand, everyone know in the Western world, many people don't buy their homes for cash. So you may have a mortgage, but the mortgage is well covered. You are paying, and if anything happens, you cannot be in debt, because if the property is sold, it will clear off the mortgage and then give you something on extra. But apart from that, mostly you run your own business. You are your own boss, and then you dictate what you do with your time. And that is the difference between the financial freedom, in which case totally free, you don't have to do anything, compared to financial independence, where part of it also could come from investment, passive income, but essentially you run your own business, or you have some extra income, to meet your bills.
Right.
And going to the question about what are the steps, to take to be financially independent. All right. So the first thing is, like I was saying, because when I talk, I have to also bring God's perspective into it. So we have to know that whatever we are seeking, is God's will. Somebody can be financially independent, having enough money, but that it's still God's will for you to work or to offer a service, But then you are doing it, at your own terms. You are not being forced, to do it. Now,
okay.
Basically.
So, Fisayo, let's get practical to see what are some of the things that people on this platform can be doing to get onto the road of either financial independence or financial freedom. Because given the world in which we are today, you don't want to be like a paycheck away or a month savings away or 6 month savings away. What are some of the things people should be doing to become financially free?
All right. So like he said, number one, it is not God's will for us to live from month to month, paycheck to paycheck, that is not God's will. God's will for us is that we live in abundance. And I always say that, I always tell people, it is God's will for you to give to the poor. There will always be two types of people on earth. You have the poor, and then you have the people giving to the poor. And if I ask a question, which of them will you want to be? I'm sure most people want to be the one, that is giving, to the poor. Now, so in terms of what we need to do, so I'm saying that, first of all, that our mindsets, we have to get our mindset right. So like I said, if we know it's God's will for us to give the poor, then it means that we must not be the poor. And the first thing, actually is, I won't say the first thing, there's a number of things, because I will not be too academic, in trying to take God out of the equation. I will always say, of course, the first thing is God. Everything comes from God, everything, descend down from God. And we must always take that first. God is the one that gives us knowledge. In his word, he says the one that gives us the power to make wealth. And that power, people say knowledge is power. It is what you know, that we said. It's just even the truth. It is truth that you know that sets you free. So the first thing is we must be financially literate. We must know about money, know the characteristics of money. We have loads and loads of scriptures, in the Bible. And now bringing it into practical, terms. Jesus gave us a parable, about how we manage money, how we multiply money. It is God's way for us to multiply money. So we know, if we're looking at the world, basically, if you are an employee, for example, and you earn your salary after all your outgoings, are gone, you have something left. That is left, you need to have a plan, number one, investment. And then I'm sure, in this 1 hour, we cannot cover everything, but I will just give very high level. Number one, we must know about investments, and there are various types of investments. That there are some investments, that we just sit down in the bank that would not make, much, whereas there are some.
So are you talking of savings, like have a savings account? That
is the basic. That is, even if you cannot do anything, but I always tell my wife that God is not well pleased when we keep money in the bank doing nothing, So if we look at the parable in the Bible, the one that went, even when Matthew chapter 25, even went to bury the money without any. So even the master said, at the minimum, at the barest minimum, you could have just give it to the bankers, and I could have earned a little. And that is even the barest minimum.
So, Fisayo, if I understand you correctly, what you're saying is, do not keep your spare cash in your current account. Find some savings account that will earn some interest.
I will say your investment account, because
your investment account, yes.
For your investment, you must have some buffer. You must have some emergency cash.
Sure.
Again, I'm assuming that people have enough. Because there's a difference with somebody who is still struggling, trying to even break even, trying to even.
Yeah, we'll come to that part when it comes to budgeting. But it is good to say that everybody's got enough, and there's a little bit, depending on how big or little that bit is.
All right. So the first thing I did, like I said, is knowledge is power. We must be financially literate, and we can be financially literate, in so many ways. It takes an awareness, a desire from within us ourselves that, all right, if I'm hearing this term and people are getting financially free or independent, then I also want to participate. It is what I always say something, sometimes even when I pray, the thing that kills us most is this phrase that says, I don't know what I don't know. You don't know, but you don't even know what you don't know, But how do you even know what you don't know? It gets yourself, educated. Learn from other people. When you see or hear something, that is bringing money, make your own research about it. In this age, we have, good source of research very quick. I mean, some of them might not be so academical, but just putting some words in Google, you can find out about what's investment that are yielding. And there are so many of them.
Fisayo, you've talked of, let's say, just a savings account. So other than savings account, can you give us 3 examples of how people can invest their money beyond just saving?
All right. So, well, like I said, savings, to me, I wouldn't count savings as an investment. So it's it's a pot of money you just keep somewhere for emergency use, and all of us should have that. So in this world, even investments, could collapse. You don't want, anything. You still want to be able to pay your bills. You don't put all your eggs. Now, so in terms of, it now depends on how much involvement we want to get, when we come to investment. So apart from banks, we have investments, in shares and stock. There are some element of risk in that, but there are also some investment which is more of project-based or project-backed. I would say project-backed investment, which we give. Some of them give as much as 10%, per annum, But again, in finance, we say something. We say the higher the return, the higher the risk. So obviously, if you keep your money in a bank, a reputable bank, the one that is backed by the Financial Services Compensation Scheme, if anything happens, even if anything happens to the bank, the government will give you money back. But once you take it out of the bank, every time you are looking for higher return, then you must be prepared for higher risk. So when you put your money, in some, so some of them are, very simple ones, even like this crowdfunding platform. They are there.
Fisayo, say you haven't heard about project-based investments.
Yeah.
Where do people find out? Where do they go? Where are the platforms? Because these might be new to people on the platform. Where do you go and get 10% when interest rates and savings are even less than 1%?
Yeah. So, well, there are lows. I think I will ask people to, if I begin to list,
just one or two, just because we want to carry on with.
Well, okay,
questions.
I would just say, from the basic one, there are this funding circle which finance businesses.
Mm-hmm.
You put your money in the crowdfunding, and you have crowdfunding that finance property projects, construction projects. You have some that finance on green energy technology. So you have this funding cycle. You have you have this what they call assets capital. You have crowd property. You have, I mean, generally, if you just type the term, peer-to-peer lending or crowdfunding, you see loads and loads of them. I mean, I will not mention all of them because each and every one of us, we need to do our due diligence. On them. And like I mentioned, anything that gives you higher than normal returns, you should expect higher than normal risk. And then you can even go beyond that when you want to get involved yourself. Then you are looking for higher return, but then you are taking the risk on yourself.
Okay, so Fisayo, take a deep breath. And
am I speaking too fast?
I think just take a deep breath. I want the participants to also ask you questions on what you said so far. So if people have got questions on what Fisayo said, he's talked about savings account even not being an investment. He then says shares and stocks. He also mentioned that, look, there are project-based funding, peer-to-peer lending. If anybody has got a question on anything he said so far, please unmute yourself and do ask.
Sorry, when you called, when you asked that I should explain something, I was in the middle of something else. Okay, when would you consider yourself as being financially free, I mean, in freedom? Is it when you are saying you don't have to work, but if you are traveling around and doing things, is it just traveling for leisure, or you are traveling because you are covering for work? If you have businesses or investments around the world and you go and see to them, does it mean that you are not in the freedom era, but you are just in the independent state?
More or less, I will say that. But then the point is, all these words and this terminology, they are coined by people. I would say, for me personally, it doesn't matter what people call it. So far, I'm earning enough money to pay my bills, and I enjoy what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care whether people call it financial freedom or financial independence. So I mean, for you, if you're traveling, even if it's for work, and you're enjoying what you are doing, that is fine. It doesn't matter what people define it, whether they call it. I mean, you don't have to put that in your heart. Oh, am I financially free or am I financially independent? It doesn't really matter. Okay. But according to the academic definition, for you to say you are free means as in you are free, no debts. You are free, nothing making demands on your time. You could just retire, more or less. You could just retire. That's what it means. You could retire, not doing anything. Retirement could be spent anyhow you want, whether you want to travel or you want to do some charity work. It's up to you.
Okay. I think the comment I'll make to put this in a framework is this: to say you're financially independent, you do not need to trade your time for money, and you're able to do what you want to do. If you want to just sit at home, go for walks, and you can live, and you don't have to go to work, great, you're independent. If you want to travel and you've got the money to do that, you don't have to go and trade your time for money, you're independent. And that your income can come from you not trading your time. So whatever your level of expenditure is covered by your investments or your passive income. So any question on what Fisaya said? I've just seen John pop up. And John, so far we've touched on financial freedom, financial independence. Even savings is not even an investment. It's just like a little buffer somewhere. That's the least we can do. Fisaya's talked about project-based investments where you can do peer-to-peer funding. He talked about what circle funding, green people investing in property, but obviously do your due diligence. And one key thing which is said, which nobody's commented or asked about, the higher the return, the higher the risk. And the question I will put to Fisaya before you come in, John, is how do people assess risk? Or what do you define about some of the things people should look at in terms of risk?
All right, is that question to me?
Yeah, because as an accountant or a financial analyst, to John as well, when you're lending or you're investing, you put certain things in different risk categories, high level, low, medium. Do you want to say something on that?
Exactly. Well, risk on its own, I mean, if we stay here, we could talk on risk for 24 hours because again, that is what drives everything else, even life, So first of all, it depends on your risk appetite. There's something called risk appetite. Some people don't like to take risk at all, no matter what, even if you try to explain to them. Some people understand that for you to make anything, for you to, and that is a law, whether it applies to money, it applies to money, I mean, to life, or to even to ministry. If you are not ready to take risk, then you won't go above the average. So now, if you get your risk appetite, then there are I would say there are structured way of managing risk. How you assess the risk. I mean, to a layman out there, I mean, you could understand what is the chance. Now, what you want to do, what is the chance that it could not work, and then you lose your money. Right. I mean, that is just on the to the layman out there. But then, if we begin to go academic, you look at about mitigation, the risk, calculation, and a lot of factors. But generally, the point is, if you want to make if you want to get anything, more than normal, then you must be prepared to, that there's a chance. So that risk is, there's a chance that things may not work out the way you plan, and you may actually lose some money or all your money.
Okay, so we'll park the risk question for now, but I'd like us to move on to the second question. Most people's route to financial independence or freedom is not to trade their time for money, but to have their own business to generate the income. So the question I'll ask both John and Fisayo, maybe John, you might come in with your feet running, hitting the ground. If you had £1,000 or £10,000, what sort of business could you be investing in? And what are some of the things that you might say it might be worth looking at this? So let's start with £1,000 and £10,000 scenario. What sort of businesses could people be looking at who might be thinking the money is sitting in the savings account earning nothing and inflation is just eating away the money? Fisai, do you want to kick us off whilst John formulates his thoughts and give us the answer?
All right. So so this type of question, I will say, first of all, I think it's difficult to say to have a list, but when you look out there are thousands and thousands, of business. So the way I will approach this is to see how do you even start a business. Money itself is not the number one. What the world is looking for, there's enough money. There are a lot of people who have money, but they don't have ideas. So the first thing is the ideas. When you have a very good ideas, money will come. People will rush to you. And depending on how they perceive you, how safe they think their money could be with you. So I would say why some businesses, that are so big, could require just £1,000. There are other businesses that are still very small, and then you have to make, a lot of capital outlay. So I would say, number one, when it comes to starting a business, make sure that number one, your idea, will work. If I want to just help, a little, we know there are some, I would say, lifestyle business, kind of, that's are coming either from your hobbies or from your talents. Most of them, they don't actually require a lot of capital, at least not at the beginning. For example, yes, somebody who would like to cook, you could decide to just, start a little food business, could be cooking, for people. Somebody who can talk, can decide to be an MC, and those type of business, they don't require much. So I call them those that emanate from your personal ability, from your personality, and your own talent. Normally, you don't require a lot of money. Somebody said that to start a business is very simple. To start a big business, or I rather say is to have ideas for a business is simple. To have ideas for big businesses, that is where the hard job, is, and that is where it gets, complicated. So I would say, without necessarily listing, because if I start to list, it's 1,000. Look within yourself. You have some ideas. God is giving you ideas. And some of those things are actually also from the resources around you, your network. The simplest thing to do is trading in commodities. When I say trading in commodities, so I mean anything that has to do with buying and selling. It could be buying and selling of anything. It could be of clothing or fashion or anything. So those ones generally require, little capital like that. And when you now begin to think of bigger business, especially those ones that now require regulations and licensing and all this
stuff. Let me bring in John. So John, welcome.
Thank you.
Do you want to kick off and give us your take on, if you had 1K or 10K, what sort of businesses should people be looking at or considering? Because people might be thinking, oh, I can't do that, you know.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for the opportunity to share a few ideas. So to add to what Fisayo was saying, we can harness the opportunities the internet gives us. Online businesses, for example,
right,
are very much appropriate for those of us who work 9 to 5 office jobs. You can do that on the side. There are apps available for you to be able to sort of do that side by side. So there are quite a lot of opportunities online via Amazon, etc. But with my field of work, you can also, it doesn't take too much effort to learn how to trade, have personal trading accounts on financial markets. For example, you could start with one. So it's just about buying and selling, and it's buying and selling financial products. So for example, foreign exchange is a product, and you could start very simple by learning how to buy and sell currencies, and it's very straightforward. It shouldn't take you too long. Say maximum 2 weeks, you should be able to be trained up, and you can start trying out. And you don't need too much money to start. So if you say £1,000 is even a lot, you can open a trading account, a forex exchange trading account for say £200, for example. Yeah, but the good thing about it is you can learn how to raise money according to your risk appetite, just as Fisayo was explaining there. So my suggestion will be to learn how to do it properly, because you can lose a lot of money by within seconds. But if you learn how to do it properly, there are proper risk management techniques and the proper ways of accessing these markets, that if you actually learn it properly, you would not have to lose money
in the process of trying to make it.
In the process of trying to make it. Foreign exchange is not the only thing. You can trade all sorts of commodities. You can trade oil, you can trade gold, you can trade silver, you can trade gas oil, you can trade stocks, shares, you can trade bonds, you can trade derivatives. There are quite a lot of financial products you can buy and sell. And it's very intuitive and very educative, fascinating and interesting. So not only will you make money, you learn how commerce actually takes place on the financial markets. So just to add to what Fisayo has just said, with that amount of money, I mean, I opened a trading account for £150, I remember, about 9-10 years ago. And yeah, I could have just left it in there and just be doing the odd trade here and there, and it would have grown by now. Yeah, I have recently opened a couple of accounts, and I've started to, because I've been so busy, I'm now going to take my time and build that up. But yeah, it's very, very easy to do that. I've got a couple of guys who you could learn off if anybody's interested.
Okay, so both of you have touched on the opportunity of being online, whether it's via Amazon, whether it's via financial products that you could trade, whether it's Forex or commodities or share, you name it. But you talked about learning, not gambling, learning how it works, learning about it, and start small.
Yes.
And that way you don't end up losing money in the process of trying to make money. And Fisayo also talked of one key bit about start with something you like, your hobby, whether it's your personality, where you can then enjoy what you're doing in the process of maybe meeting a need, whether it's you like cooking and you start making maybe baking or whatever your passion takes you, start there. So one of the things that usually you hear being said is like 9 out of 10 small businesses fail, or only 1 in 10 would really make it after year one. So with both of you in the financial world, you probably will come across this statistic or experience people, businesses folding up, whether it's COVID impacted or just business environment. What would you tell people on this platform how to avoid being that statistic or be that 1 in 10 that makes it? Fisai, do you want to come in?
All right. So if I share, when it comes in, generally when it comes to making money, I mean, like I said before, knowledge is power. So the difference between somebody who gain and the other person who lost is knowledge. So knowledge is key. Knowledge is key. You know, even the Bible told us that, you know, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So the first thing is anything we want to do, we must pursue knowledge. Now, so depending on the type of business, so like John was saying that, I mean, you can't just wake up today and then you want to start making a lot of money from the financial instruments. You need to learn it, you know. And there are so many ways, you know, you can learn, you know. First of all, I would advise people get in the mood, in the mindset, you know, of success. Read about successful people, read about people's mistake. You know, somebody said that make sure you don't make the same mistake once. You know, people always say that don't make the same mistake twice. You know, for somebody who wants to succeed, don't even make it once. Why? Because somebody has made it already. You shouldn't make the mistake from yourself. You know, somebody has made it, you don't even make it once. So there are books, you know, I mean, and there are so many other ways. But one thing that is now very common and people have recognized and are placing value on this day is mentorship. You know, look for people who have succeeded, who have crossed the hurdle, you know, and let them mentor you. And again, you know, on almost all these topics, we can spend hours and hours. You know, what is mentorship? How do you get mentors? You know, how do mentors behave? You know, and a lot of things like that. So if you are lucky, or I would say, I would use the word favor to find a mentor,
right?
That is willing, you know, because that is also it's not easy. Because if somebody is doing well in one business, they might not want to share the details of their business with you. So mentorship.
So if you want to get into, let's say, online business as an Amazon trader who buys stuff and doesn't even see the goods and somebody else dispatches it, find somebody who's doing it. And hopefully
well, those type of mentorship are for sale, you know. You have people, but we have to be careful though, because there are a lot of people out there who are actually not doing it, but actually talking about doing it and making money out of it. So people have put money in a lot of training, and at the end of the day, they don't really get the results, or some of the results are blown out of proportion, you know, just as a bait to get people to buy into the training, you know. So that's one thing. And that's why I said that if you are able to find a true mentor, it's a great asset. Right. You know, great mentors don't go about chasing you. You have to chase them. And a lot of other things about, you know.
That's a good one. That's a good point.
Mentorship, you know. And then but then, I mean, so there are so many ways. Either you pay for it or you read from. There are a lot of free information out there. But mentorship now, like I said, people have realized that it works. You know, somebody can hold your hands. That is the best, you know, you can get, because when you run to trouble, you can just call somebody and they can tell you exactly what you need to do. Why? Because they have been there, you know, before.
Right. So we have budgeting to tackle, but I believe we have on the platform someone who started a business, and Grace's dad, if you're online, could you unmute yourself and share with us your experience in the business that you're involved with, the challenges you faced, or the successes of how you come to where you are?
You mean Pastor Temi?
Yeah, okay, Pastor Temi, sorry. Pastor, you're muted, Pastor Tammy.
Hello, how are we, sir?
Fine, thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Sorry, I was just, well, I've been around for some few minutes, but I came through from a program, so that's why I couldn't start with us.
No worries. So just to share with us your experience of starting a business, how it started, challenges you faced. If you could just give us 3-4 minutes of that, then we'll continue. Because at the moment we've heard of the, I would say, theoretical side. This is a real life situation.
Well, praise God. Well, thank you for the great opportunity to be together with lovely people on the platform. I want to thank God for Pastor Frank and Pastor Louisa and the leadership team that has put this. It's a great opportunity to be able to share these things with people. And it's also a good foundation to give knowledge. Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. So it's a laudable thing that this platform is doing. And I know the Lord is going to take it much more, and it's going to grow bigger and bigger and have more impact generationally in Jesus' name. In terms of business, I've had the opportunity to do business, and one of the challenges I find in business is that planning is key. It's important to have a plan. There's what they call business plan, which most of us, especially people who need finance, by force, by fire, you will have to create a business plan because the bank or the financiers will ask you to present a business plan. But far beyond that, it's not just a tool for raising finance, but it's actually meant to be a guide for how the business runs. So in terms of business, I would say it's key to have that aspect in place, to have a plan. But doing the research as to how to take whatever we have to the market is also important. One of an area that I personally am working on, the Lord has given grace to do a lot of business things, but publicity is important.
Are you able to share one area of business that you're involved in so that people can relate to?
Okay, fair enough.
Just one.
That's right. Together with my wife, we're involved in African food, preparing catering. So
is this like a restaurant, or is it a takeaway business? Is it
at this point in time, we've evolved. Initially, it started as a restaurant.
Okay.
Well, I haven't said that. No, it didn't start as a restaurant. It was always contract catering, to be involved in being able to make food for people for events. Okay. But at the point in time, we ventured into a restaurant, but we have moved off into restaurants more and focus more into contract catering or household, making food for people, pots of stews and all those kind of.
So, Pastor Tani, I'm putting this to a test.
Yes, sir.
Fisayo said, probably your passion, you enjoy cooking. Do both of you enjoy cooking, or is it just a question of an opportunity to invest and make money? Was it a passion, or what was it?
My wife is extremely gifted and passionate about food. Before I married her, before we got married, she has been cooking and doing contract catering as far back as 1992. At the NYC level, which is the youth service in Nigeria. Preparing food for the coppers. So she has a passion for it. So when we got married, she didn't want to she's sold it, and I said, nah, I'm a pastor, all this food business thing. We just, but as time goes on, a man's gift make room for her. She's gifted, and I think her gifting and the cooking has
So
made
this is a
room for it.
testament to the fact that your passion can be your idea, your hobby in generating income and investing time. So what has been the challenge that you've been facing in the last 6 months? Is it a question of you can't supply enough, or you can't find people to help you expand, or what has been the challenge for you personally in your business the last 6 months?
Okay, the challenge in the catering aspect has been we need to create more time for publicity and awareness. What we've been taking advantage of, or that we've zeroed in on, is people word of mouth as a means of people knowing. So people's testimonial, somebody ate the food, or somebody saw us in an event and they loved it, or somebody tasted the food and said, this food sounds homely, even for a massive event. So we get tested. That's good. But far beyond that, so which means people are the one coming, but we need to move more into letting people know about it, more publicity, using more digital marketing aspect of things for people to be aware.
Thank you. Look, we could talk on this topic for a little while, but I want to thank you for sharing your experience in starting a business, still running one, albeit it's a secondary stream or a passive stream, as Fisaya would say, passive income, that not being your day job. So thank you. I'd like to move the discussion on to budgeting. And I want to bring John in on this one because I want us to focus on what's a budget, and looking at the individual, a young person, a family starting out. How do you go about setting a budget? You know, I've got £1,000, I'll just keep spending till it gets finished. How should we do it? And John, do you want to take us into that area?
Yeah, sure. I'd read a verse to start off. The Bible says in Proverbs chapter 2, verse 11, wise planning will watch over you. Understanding will keep you safe. So the Bible entreats us to be wise with the money God has given us. And we all know that it's God who gives us the ability to make wealth. And he wants us to steward it properly. A budget simply is a plan to ensure that you have control over your income and your expenditure. So basically, it gives you an idea of what you're spending your money on, but not just that, how much you're receiving and what's left after you've taken care of your outgoings. So budgeting is about taking control of your income and expenditure. Now, a budget doesn't work unless you're very honest with yourself and make sure that you go into a lot more detail about what you're spending your money on. So budgeting is quite broad, and there's so many aspects to it. And I believe that there's so many opportunities online for people to go in depth into it. But for very simply, for our purposes tonight, to create a budget, you need to be able to list your outgoings, and you need to be very detailed about it. And there are a lot of apps. I've got a few on here to share with you. There's an app called Good Budget, which you can use. Another one called Personal Capital. There's one called Pocket Guard, and Mint. There's one called Mint, M-I-N-T. There are loads of budgeting apps on there.
John, let me pull you back one bit, because this is, most of the people here are probably Christians, but you said something like, be honest with yourself. Can you elaborate on how people are not honest with themselves, or if you're not honest with yourself, what happened to your budget?
Yeah, well, basically, you've got to be very honest with how much you're earning. So if you're earning, say, £1,000 a month, you've got to be, you've got to put that down. And also, you need to be very, very clear and detailed as to how much of that is going into your expenditure. If you're not honest with yourself, then by the time you realize, you would always be going over your budget. And being honest with yourself works both ways. So if you're creating a budget, a plan to govern your spending, you've got to obviously list the various categories of expenditure items and allocate the money wisely and in a balanced way. So don't say, oh, I want to be able to save, and I want to be able to keep on top of my finances. So for food, I'll put £20. You know that it's not going to be enough. So you've got to be honest with yourself and say, I'm going to put down £30, £40, so that when it comes to second week, third week in the month, you don't go frustrated and then your plan goes out of the way. So it's being very, very honest with yourself, both for what you want to spend and for what you want to save. So the components of a budget is basically to help you ensure that you stay on top of your income. They say that if your expenses exceed your income, your upkeep becomes your downfall. And so what the budget should do, once you've listed your outgoings and you've got your income, what you should then do is to be able to, if obviously your income is more than your expenses, that's a great place to be. But then from there, you need to ask yourself, what do I want to be saving for the future? And now that's a whole new topic.
So John, just to share a little bit about maybe 20, 30 years ago, when I started budgeting, typically my expenses were more than the income.
Okay.
And I had to sit down and make like hard choices, like, no, we can't do this. We got to cut this. What's the process of eliminating stuff in the budget? Because it could be like you're talking about it, £30 can cut it for food, but you're buying lunch and lunch is £3.
Yeah.
And yet there's only like £5 left in the budget.
Yeah. So when you're listing your expenses, you'd find that there are some that are fixed and there are some that are variable. So fixed items could include your rent, your mortgage, your bills, basically. And those ones are fixed. And the variable ones are food, entertainment, dresses, that kind of thing. So when you have a situation where your expenses exceed your income, what you want to do is to start to tweak your variable expenses, and you can do that by by negotiating between finding a bit more frugal means of doing things. Instead of buying water, for example, you would want to buy a filter and use your tap water, that kind of thing. There's so many. I mean, I was surprised when I was preparing for this, and I typed ways of cutting back on expenditure. On YouTube, there are loads. People have fantastic ideas. Just type it in Google and there are loads. So yeah, once you find better ways of handling your variable expenses, that could be a way of balancing your budget. But I would stress that you've got to find a way of putting some money aside, however small it is, because money can work for you. So if you if say for example you have a credit card and you're paying say £20 towards the credit card, that's the minimum payment. I would suggest that you pay more than the £20. You pay say maybe £25, £30. What you're doing is you're reducing your principal earlier than you would have normally done if you kept your minimum payments, and you're taking your money back from the bank, because at the end of the day, if you keep the minimum payment, you'll be paying a lot of interest, and you won't be balancing your budget anytime soon if you do that. One last thing I'd say, there is a goal for a budget for everybody who earns. It's good to I've heard of it, read of it, and I'm trying to practice it now. The 80-20 rule for your budget, where you use 80% of your income on your upkeep and your day-to-day lifestyle, and 20% for your saving and for reducing your debt. Some people say that you can use, within the 20%, you can use 10% to reduce your debt. And it was so powerful. I was doing the mathematics and I realized for those who have mortgages and loans and car loans, if you actually operate the 80-20 principle, you'll be cutting your cost by more than 25%.
Wow.
For your debt. I'm talking about your debt cost. Yeah. So it is a really powerful. You might not be able to do that straight away, but if you can start maybe 5%, 95, and then grow it 10. But the powerful tipping point is the 80-20. Which gives you a lot of benefit.
Right. Let's ask the participants if they've got any questions on budgeting from what John has said so far.
No, I've got a question for Brother John. I just want to ask, if you want to go on trading, is this something you have to, do you have to go through a training, or you can just, how do you go about it, basically? How do you start?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways you can do it. I went on a training, but you don't need to do that because I stopped my job, went to do my master's, and after that, I was looking for a job that I did. So I wanted something to really kick. So I invested into it. But you can, there are a lot of training videos online. I can share one or two with you. Once you start familiarizing yourself with it and it's something you like, then the people you're listening to, they have paid courses for you to go on, and they'll sort of take your hand and help you to start. There are online platforms, free online platforms that you can start. So you need a trading account. You need to set yourself up a trading account. And normally those videos will be able to point you in the right directions to which ones are good. But yeah, you don't need much money to start trading.
So we have a question on the chat room, which says the 10% should be after your 10% tithe, and another question is saying, what percent do we give to God?
Right. Your tithe, the 10% is within the 80%. Yeah, it's within the 80%.
Okay. Yeah. It's quite interesting because about 30 years ago, I had the 70-30. It was 70-10-10-10. And the 70 was, you live on the 70%, all your expenses, everything, 10% was your tithe.
Yeah.
Then 10% was savings, and 10% was investment.
Yeah.
And you're quite right. At the time, it was like, now the 7% wasn't even cutting it. So we adjusted the figures a little bit here and there. But it's interesting that you say that the minute you start getting rid of your debt, start putting something aside to invest, then obviously things begin to change.
Yeah.
So,
Question, sir.
carry on.
Yeah, wanted to find out for both Pistayo and John, how does one monetize their passion? Because Pastor Temi talked about how he and the wife have monetized her passion. If he wants to join it, but I think this is what a lot of people are hearing. All of these things, they realize, oh, I'm very good, maybe in public speaking. I'm good in doing all of this. I'm good in giving jokes, so I could be a comedian. How does one monetize their passion?
You want to
Well,
go?
I think,
Sir?
like you said, it's so simple. I mean, just you've used the word just monetize it. Monetize it means you start earning money. I mean, it's good that you asked that question because I was thinking we have 1 hour and we barely touch, the two topics, in enough details that people can actually go and run, with them. I mean, and I understand the time is too short. So, so like I said, the first thing is the mindset, an awakening. Before, like you said, somebody had been cracking jokes, people have been laughing, but, he was just using it for fun. But one day came, he realized that he could make money from it, So once the awareness comes, then the next thing is that, all right, then you have to turn it into a business, You have to, if it's really your passion, there are so many ways, we call it route to market. You could start with freebies, to test because any business idea you want to do, you need to test it. You could start with a few friends and family. I mean, somebody who have not charged money, something you have been giving for free before, all of a sudden you want to start charging 1,000. You have to look for people, around you, and either you start charging a little money or you want to give some freebies, while you build, trust and reputation, and like Bible said, your gift will make room for you, and people will start actually paying. They will recognize, your talents, your passion, your gifting, and then they will start paying for it. So, is the number one is that you have to determine that, okay, this thing I'm not giving it for free anymore, and then you turn it to a business.
There is another question in the chat room. It's asking, would the panelists go for Bitcoin trading?
Oh.
Would the panelists, why maybe will anybody go for Bitcoin trading? I mean, I think we have an investment banker here, so who's more into commodities? I think probably I will leave that to him. Yeah.
Well, Bitcoin is still shrouded in mystery. So even the finance guys don't really know what it is. It's digital currency, and its value is held up in public ledgers. So you have it's available to the public to see, and it is doing very, very well. It is really, really doing very well, but it's not backed by government, so it's not regulated. So you stand to risk a lot if you get heavily invested in it and it goes bust. It's because of what it offers versus the traditional financial
returns, or
no, the traditional financial products.
Okay.
Yeah, for example, it gives you the opportunity to do transactions very, very quickly and smoothly. You don't have to. You just need a wallet, and then you can pay for stuff. So because of the ideas surrounding Bitcoin, it is growing. It is really. I mean, just about.
So you're saying the risk profile is too high. You might stand to risk a lot more than you bargained for.
Yeah, but for the last 3-4 years, it's just been growing and growing. I mean, I bought some Bitcoin 2 months ago, and I sold it 4 weeks ago, and I made some profit. Okay. And I sold it simply because of the reasons I'm giving you. I just wanted to test the market, how you can get into it and get out of it, because finance experts want to be able to test the
reality,
the liquidity of the market, entry and exit. Yeah, so it is doing very well, and so a lot of people have done hybrid products with Bitcoin, where you can have a portfolio with a little bit of Bitcoin, a little bit of shares, a little bit of bits and bobs, so that Bitcoin doesn't like take over completely. If it crashes, then you're hedged. That's right. You're hedged in a way. But yeah, it's doing very, very well. I would not advise anybody to go into Bitcoin training, simply for the simple reason that it's not regulated. But it is doing very well. If you want to, if say you have £10,000, for example, to put away for like 6 weeks, you make a lot of money.
Right. Okay. So we're coming to the end of this session.
Quick question back to John. So when you say it's not regulated, it's not government backed, basically you are not also saying therefore that it is illegal.
It is not illegal, no.
It's not illegal.
No, it is not illegal. You're free to. It is not illegal, but when you sign up to any of the people who are offering, any of the companies, they have a disclaimer on there to say that it's not regulated. It's an unregulated industry. So, but people try to be credible, because you have credible players in it. You've got huge banks doing Bitcoin trading. It's growing really, really fast. And yeah, it was one Bitcoin was about $9,000 about 6 weeks ago, and now it's about 14,000, 15,000. It's the percentage increase is through the roof. So you've got big banks involved, but it's just that it's not regulated.
I have a question for Mr. John, please.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think you mentioned earlier that if anybody was interested in finding out more about trading, they should get involved. I did send you a private chat message. I just wondered, how would we, how can we actually get in touch with you?
Oh, what I'll do is should I paste it to the chat?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll reply you with one or two people I've followed in the past. Because you've got to watch who you follow and who you learn from, so that you're not led astray. So I'll put that in the chat.
All right. Okay. But if we have more questions, etc., do we
yes, you can.
Because I don't know anything about it. So like Brother Fasaya said, you need a mentor. So ideally, it would be good to obviously learn from somebody who's in
done it before or doing it.
Yeah, sure. I can put my email address in as well.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Any other question before we wrap up?
Just a question for the floor, because I know this is something that for some people, maybe we are talking about financial freedom, financial independence, and maybe they are in debt. So they are in the minus. So we are talking currently about plus, but they are in minus. How do they start to rise from the minus to the zero before they can even do investment?
Oh, I wanted to, sorry not to cut you, Pastor, but yeah, I wanted to share this. Thanks for bringing this up. I got involved with an organization, it's a Christian organization called Cap Money. I don't know, Christians Against Poverty. I don't know if anybody's heard of it, and they are a very good organization. And they do organize free courses for anybody who wants to partake. And it is incredibly fruitful and useful if you're in debt to go on to that course, because you find out that you find out that you're not alone. You'll be amongst people who are also going through the same, and they will take you by the hand and help you budget. In fact, that's the first place I did my first budget a few years back. When you go on that course, they will teach you how to make a budget, and they have budgeting tools on there. It's an online service as well. But you've got to go into the course to access their budgeting tools online. And the cost
can I also just add that because we have them also in our church. Our church is a center, and what they can actually do is, if you are in debt, that they can take over the whole issue about payments to your creditors and be the front people who deal with your debtors. Because one of the problems that people have is that they are getting letters left, right, and center, and they are harassing you, and you are really struggling. So they would act on your behalf and negotiate payment terms and so on, and obviously work with you on your budgeting and so on. Check how much you actually have, how much you can contribute, however little that you can contribute, and buy yourself time. So they are really effective, not only in terms of helping you with the training, but actually managing your debt for you.
Thank you. And then I think there's also step change.
Uncle Saki, could you please put that information on the chat? You mentioned your church, but you didn't mention your church's name. If you could put that information on the public chat, that would be great. Thank you.
No, I think people should go to CAP, Christians Against Poverty. Yeah, CAP, Christians Against Poverty. They have got a website and they are all over.
Okay. All you need to do is put your postcode in, and the nearest course that's going
will come up.
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, guys. I'll just give our guest speakers a couple of minutes to wrap up with our take-home message. So, Fisayo, what would you want to let the participants go away with?
Well, I was about to ask, for 1 minute, because like I said, we didn't do justice to a lot of things. So me, I'm a traditional business person, business-minded, so I would say, while we talk about budgeting, and all those stuff, when you are a successful man, you don't even have to worry about that. You can employ somebody to do all those for you, to manage budget, to do your books, to everything, So I think so. The life starts with a seed. So the starting point is actually out of birth, the income generating base. So from a business perspective, so I would say, how do we even get? I mean, if you find out that you have that mindset, because not everybody, because business itself is a calling, not everybody can do it. But if you find out that is something you like, want to pursue, I would say the first thing is, getting the idea. And now getting the idea is simpler, than what a lot of people think. So there are some questions about fear. Maybe people are afraid, fear of the unknown or leaping. I would say, first of all, just like the Bible said that we should open our eyes, and we shall be satisfied with the bread. God himself knows. Why should people be pure? There are a lot of things happening, around you. I'll give you a little example. There are so many ways, you can conceive a business idea that can really, really make very good money. First of all, of course, if you hear gospel, if God tell you do this, that is the best, And for most of us, not a lot of people, not everybody, hear that. Personally, I have not had God spoke to me and say, go and do this. But then I've done things and I've been very, successful by God's grace. So I would say, we've talked about follow your passion, and your hobbies. You know them yourself. Other area is solve a problem. What is it that irritates you? Go and buy something, or you need something. You find out that people are not doing it well. So you may have that spirit that you can do better. That could be, a business idea. If you take it up, it can actually turn good. You seize opportunity, you innovate, you can compete on costs. You can build a business that is, if God give you foresight, a business that will be needed, a few years time. For example, look at this lockdown now. The owner of Zoom, if this Zoom that we are using now, is already suddenly is climbing to become a billionaire now, whereas some last year, some people don't even know about Zoom, so people do all that. Another thing is, if you look at things that people are not, doing very well. Now, I'll give you a personal example. So when I first came into country, I was volunteering with some, people, and they were running a business. So it's like a partnership, but they weren't faithful, because they were not disciplined to separate their business life from their personal life. So between partners, you see this one is taking this money. Oh, that one, you took money. Then I'm going to take this money as well. So before you know it, the business collapsed, And so when I decided that, okay, I want to do business. So the first idea that came to me, what about this business that was good, but people they didn't do it well? So you identify a problem, or you find something that people are not doing well, and you do it, or you solve the problem. So there are loads and loads, of opportunity there. If we open our eyes, and that word open our eyes is we be conscious of our environment. I'll give you another example. For this happened recently. Sometimes you have a network. Some people have good following. You have 1,000 people. You have all those stuff. What is that thing that you can sell? Somebody took on a business based on this principle, and it's amazing. What she has done. Selling a product, before it's making very good money. So there are opportunities, out there. And once you start, because business too has learning. Once you learn to do business. You learn how to build brand. Like Pastor Temi was saying. Then you also learn about marketing and a lot of things like that. When everything comes, together, it actually pays. And out of your SSCs, then you can also begin to talk about investment. And if you don't have time, you can have professional investment managers, who can do that for you. So that's my take home for everyone.
Thank you so much. So, John.
Yes. Just to encourage everybody that God wants us to be able to be a blessing to the people around you, blessed to be a blessing. And I believe that freely given, we've been freely given what we have. So God wants us to we have freely received. So God wants us to freely give out. And to be able to do that, you have to get on top of your finances first of all. And it's quite important to be encouraged that your finances are not just for you and your family. It's a tool God's given you to be able to make an impact. When I was a young boy growing up,
Still young, John.
Sorry, I'm
still young.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much. I always used to be fascinated about people who are able to give money and give resources to impact people's lives. So we're going for a crusade, and we would have raised a lot of funds, and then someone would just give
half of it, just like that.
Half of it, the entire funding. I'm like, that is just so amazing, that one pay, And I was always fascinated about how resources can make a big impact. But you don't need to do that. You don't need to wait for that big check. You can always give. I've been hugely blessed by the pastors of Destiny Chapel, Pastor Frank and Mama Louisa. They always give, and they're always giving, and you can see that all the time. And you never know some of where some of the resources have led. So let's make sure we understand that getting on top of our finances is not just to make us feel good. It's our calling that we'll be able to be financially able to help other people and to be able to support God's work. The second and the last thing I want to say is, do not live for just today, because the future belongs to those who plan for it. So when you've received income for today, put some aside for tomorrow or plan for tomorrow. Don't think that it's only just saving. It's saving so you can better yourself. That 20% I was talking about is for courses, it's for investment, it's for, things that would enrich you so you become better, so your value goes higher. So it's just to encourage everybody with that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Fisoya, you've been a tremendous blessing. John, Mama Lou wants to come in. Quick one, Mama Lou. You're mute.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to you all, but I think there should be a part 2 because there's so much in our aspects to give to us, and I feel I'm not for myself, but I'm sure all of us on the line have benefited today in one way or the other. So I think that we should consider doing it something a part 2 or in the very, very near future, if not next 2 weeks. This is my proposal, but I hope we'll consider that because we really, really need that.
I see some people have started voting and giving you thumbs up.
Thank you, Uncle Benny. So we need a part 2, please, in 2 weeks' time. And if we can ask our team if you can come back, we'll be very, 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 very pleased. Please.
I'll be back to them, but point well noted. So look, thank you, John. Thank you, Fisayo. You've been, as you can see, people want you back. We'll talk offline. But, the Bible says if all of our getting, get understanding. Wisdom is the principal thing, and things don't just happen. And as much as I think Fisayo talked about the talents, that we don't bury our talents. John has just talked about, you're not just living for yourself, but you're for family. There's the kingdom that we've got to do God's work, and it takes resources to preach the gospel, bring people to Christ, etc. So, look, thank you. And in 2 weeks' time, we'll be back again online, and we'll post the next topic and see where we take it. So thank you all for participating, and God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Bless you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night. God bless you.
Bye.
Thank you. God bless.
Yeah, those who have topics which you want discussed, feel free to send it to the email in the everyone. Send it in there so that the facilitator and the team can do it for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night. Bye-bye.